I'm here this afternoon with Mr. Vaughn from the U.S. Coast Guard cutter ALDER that's stationed here in Duluth. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for taking the time to have us come on the cutter. And you know, we're talking a little while ago, and people, myself included, are fascinated by not only what you guys do in the Coast Guard, but all the ships that come in and the salties, and you guys play a huge role in that. And can you just let us know kind of what you guys on this particular cutter, what your job is?
Sure. So obviously, as most people, you know, kind of see us, and when we're really working is when we're breaking ice, and that's obviously one of our bigger missions. Really, the ALDER in particular, we're in charge of the entire Lake Superior. So we're like the only Coast Guard asset that's on Lake Superior that can actually break ice. So we'll head up to Thunder Bay. We help the Canadians out quite a bit. When we're needed, when we're called on, we head all the way down to Whitefish Bay. We can also head towards the Apostles and all around Isle Royale. That's really mainly our areas of concentration for ice breaking. But after that, technically the ALDER is actually a buoy tender. Even though it does break ice, it's classified only as an ice-capable vessel, so we're not designed to specifically break ice. But as a buoy tender, all the essentially the red and green buoys that you see that are floating around out in the water, their job is to indicate to any of the mariners that are on the water where safe water actually is. Okay. So obviously, if you're driving a ship, you don't want to be driving your ship into shoal water, into dangerous areas so that you could run aground. Those buoys actually mark, essentially just like a highway would mark, where you can go safely and where you can navigate. So our job is, whenever those buoys are inoperable or need service or just need a little tune-up, we go out, we pull those buoys out of the water, we make sure that they're indicating where dangers are properly and that they're properly serviced and good to go.
So does that just apply to the ships, or is that kind of like you say, it's like a highway out there? So are civilian vessels to follow that same path, or?
Yes, yeah, definitely. The civilian vessels are highly encouraged to follow the same path. Okay. Obviously, some of the buoys that we put in, you know, they'll mark a shoal water area that is, for example, 18 feet. Now, your average mom and pop boat, you know, they don't have a draft. They're not below the water line 18 feet.
Sure.
So yes, they could, you know, skirt around those buoys or go other places that the larger lakers can't. But the reason why those buoys are there is to say, you know, this is where the safe water is. This is where you're supposed to be. So if you do deviate from where the Coast Guard is saying there is safe water, you know, that's, you know, you're taking your own safety into your own hands.
Yeah.
And you know, it's always encouraged to, you know, follow the speed limits when you're on roads. It's the same thing out on the water. It's always encouraged to follow your navigational beacons and your buoys when you're out on the water.
So I've seen, obviously closer to the harbor in that area right outside of the bridge, where you'll see some of these smaller crafts, and you have the 1,000-footers coming in. Obviously, I would assume they have the right away at all times.
Actually, they don't. So under the international and inland rules of the road, as a deck watch officer and as a mariner, there are certain classifications that vessels have to follow.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, even if you're a 1,000-foot, you know, laker and you're going full steam, if there's a sailboat out there that is sailing, is under the power of the wind, by definition, they are not nearly as maneuverable as a power-driven vessel. So a vessel that actually has a motor. So a laker has to give way to that sailboat because the sailboat has the right of way on the water. Wow. So just because you're bigger doesn't mean you can run people down. And you know, that's one of the things that the Coast Guard not only follows but has to enforce as well.
Right, because not like I've seen any close calls, but you know, you see different areas. You're like Brighton Beach, and I'll see the big ships coming in. I'm like, whoa, look out! You know, even though they're so far away, they're probably not as close as I think they are. But you know, as you said too, that's everybody's own responsibility when they're out there to make sure that it's safe, and especially these large vessels trying to get in these waterways. Everybody's got to kind of look out and obey the rules.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, one of the things that that we try to preach is everyone that's on the water, you know, it's a public resource. Everyone has the right to be out there. It's a privilege to be out there. You know, we want to make sure that we're helping one another. And the the naval and the mariner community is really, really good about that. If you hear a distress call, if you hear something that's going wrong, everyone is willing and able to lend a hand. And we take pride, not only the Coast Guard, but all of our fellow mariners that are out there. We take pride in our ability to respond to that.
Absolutely. So when there's I've heard a lot of different areas of this, of when the lift bridge actually has to go up. How far are the ships out before they'll start lifting the bridge and block off the road?
So on average, we try to give the lift bridge a call, 2 miles or 2 nautical miles out, just to give them a heads up. Hey, these are our intentions. We're heading in.
Okay.
Around that time, they roger up and just say, all right, good. We hear you. Give us another call when you're 1 mile away.
Okay.
And so when we're 1 mile away, that means we've done all of our security checks and we've made sure that we're in the proper propulsion mode and that we're ready to head through the break walls. And so at that 1 mile, we'll give another call in. We'll let them know, hey, we're 1 mile out. We're heading in, and then that's about when the lift bridge will start heading up. Quite often we've run into scenarios where someone's coming out and we're trying to come in. And instead of forcing that lift bridge to stay up for 2 vessels crossing through, we'll have a conversation between ourselves, the lift bridge, and the third-party vessel that, hey, we're going to wait, we're going to let the bridge come down, let the traffic come across, and then the bridge will go back up again. So we do try to, the best of our ability, not impede traffic as much as we can, because especially being in the Coast Guard, a life-saving service, I fully understand that if that bridge goes up and if someone is injured on the other side of the bridge, it's impossible for rescue services to get across. So that's always something that we keep in mind when we're trying to go through.
Right, and that definitely makes it so unique of the residents on Park Point versus a tourist just trying to get to the beach. It's obviously definitely a whole different situation. So I know that we were talking as well about, on average, how long do you guys usually head out for?
So really it just kind of depends on the nature of our work and what we're doing and what we've been tasked to do. Your classic scenario is if it's really bad ice here, we'll go out for 7 to 10 days and we end up staying out there 21, 22, 23 days. And that all depends on, someone got iced in, or this port needs to be broken out, or, however the tasking comes through. So ice season is always kind of up in the air. When it comes to ATON, aids to navigation season, when we're actually working the buoys and we're out there doing our other main job, we'll go out for maybe a week, 2 weeks at a time.
Right.
We'll service all the buoys that we can. We'll service however many buoys we can hold on our deck, and then we'll come back in. We'll give the crew some rest and some relaxation and downtime, and then we'll get back at it again.
Have you guys ever run out of supplies because you were stuck out there?
We haven't ever run out of supplies because we're stuck. We do a really good job. The cooks are very good at figuring out exactly how much food we need. The engineers are always on top of our water consumption and our outputs, so that we make sure that we know how much time that we have left. And if we do need to pull into a port, we can always pull in somewhere. We can offload sewage or refuse or trash or whatever else that we need to offload, and then get back at work. So the Coast Guard is really good at planning, time management, and making sure that we get the job done.
Well, Mr. Vaughn, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us, and for all that you do, for keeping all of us safe, keeping the port safe, and especially in the times that we have right now. I think people definitely, if they don't already have an appreciation, something to really think about, that it's hardworking men and women like yourselves that keep us safe and keep our waterways safe. And so we really appreciate all that you guys do.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's, being one of the officers on board, I have to say that, none of this could be even possible without my enlisted crew. They're the guys that, they're the boots on the deck. They're making sure everything gets done. They're the ones that are cooking, cleaning, and make sure the ship runs. So without them, this wouldn't happen. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.